Oh,
it was that.
Damn it! Fast.
I was way too quick.
It was that
It all got going so quickly.
Yeah, and we're
You
back.
never know what's happening, and we're better than ever.
Yeah, it was like 1, 2, 3, go. Are you ready, John?
I think I'm ready.
Are you?
Look at that. We introduced our guest while we haven't introduced him yet.
Yeah, I'm like, and
No, have you watched our podcast before?
I have.
Okay, so you know our like sort of usual hijinks.
Yeah.
they're like, we don't know what the hell's going on in this place, man. Yeah, man. So introduce yourself. Who are you, man?
Hey, so I'm Karl Dent, and I'm running for sheriff of El Paso County, and I'm local right here in Colorado Springs. I came out here back in 2007.
Oh, okay.
When the military brought me out here, so I just fell in love with the city, and I just stayed out here.
Cool. Yeah. So how does running for the sheriff work? Are you a cop now, or how does that work?
No, so I'm not a cop now, but just a little bit about my background is when I was in the Army, I was a military police, and when I got out, I decided I wanted to go into law enforcement, so I went to Pikes Peak Regional Law Enforcement Academy where I got certified, and from there I went to work for Green Mountain Falls PD for a while and Cripple Creek Police. Then I went to work for Department of Defense. I was a police officer with Department of Air Force and Department of Army.
Oh, okay.
But from there I got into law enforcement and I opened my own business. So I own a security company here in Colorado Springs called Rocky Mountain Protective Service. And so over the years I've just built an extensive knowledge of what law enforcement is supposed to be based on what our Constitution says. And so, but no, I'm not a cop right now.
Okay.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, wait.
I'm like, oh man, we got a cop in here, dude.
It's like an exception to our
yeah,
rule.
I think we should have like gave it to him. Damn, we're all just everybody phone just
going off. I think mine's on vibrate. Green Mountain Falls, huh?
Yeah.
And Cripple Creek?
And Cripple Creek.
Those have got to be two of the most dangerous.
Yeah. I did a roof in Green Mountain Falls one time.
Oh, really?
Man.
I'm not even clear where. It's just somewhere on the pass.
It's the most beautiful place
right?
you've ever seen on Earth. It's like it's where it's actually where they take all the postcard pictures from.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're on Earth.
That's where everybody go do their wedding at is in Green Mountain Falls.
It's like somewhere west of Manitou, but east of Woodland Park, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like in the nook right there.
It's between Chipeta Park and Woodland Park, so it's just like right there in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I just got to know, like, do they have an actual police department?
I'm not sure about now, but when I was there, we did have an actual police department. We had about 4 of us and a chief that worked there. So,
Okay.
But it was pretty cool though, because it's sitting out there in I-24 all the way up there. It's just it was a lot of fun just working up there and getting to know all the other side of El Paso County, the unincorporated side, where people just want to be alone, want to be by themselves, and don't want to be bothered by anybody. So, I mean, I guess that's why I kind of worked up there as a cop.
Yeah.
Like, what do you even do? Like, pull over people on Highway 24, I imagine.
Yeah,
that's like the extent of the job.
Right. I'm wondering what happened.
Actually, so yeah, we did a lot of traffic enforcement up in Highway 24, and we did a lot done in Green Mountain Falls. But one of the biggest issues they had there was it's a magnet for drugs, man. So there was a lot of drugs done in there. And like those little towns, man, that's where it all goes down at, not down here in the city.
They go out there and hide in the woods and stuff.
Right,
Okay.
that's true. I mean, the rural Colorado can be pretty sketchy, I feel like.
Yeah.
I
I think that's where, like, anyway, I think that, man, so when it comes to switching that thought up into a big city and all of this stuff, how does that help you? You know what I'm saying? And where does that come from?
You mean as far as working up there?
Yeah. Like how does your background with the smaller towns translate to like Colorado Springs and Pueblo?
So
and all that?
actually,
Pueblo in El Paso County?
Nah, it's not Pueblo.
but actually working in Green Mountain Falls and Cripple Creek, actually, the communities are smaller, so you get to know everybody in the community, and so you get to keep tabs on everything that's going on. And what I learned working in those little small areas, if your neighbor is a drug dealer, but you don't like your neighbor, then you're going to tell the cops because you want to get your neighbor out of there. So
yeah,
those were a lot of the
so
things.
Like they would just tell on them if they got snitches and shit.
I mean, that sounds right up CSPD's alley.
Right. CSPD, y'all should move to Green Mountain Falls. Yeah, man. So all right. So what's going on now? There's a lot of stuff in the news and seems like they don't want you up in there.
Well,
Man, I'm a celebrity right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
yeah.
mean, actually, this race to me is pretty tough because, you know, I'm fighting to change something that nobody wants to be changed. If you look at our sheriff's office, 160 years old, I'm the first African American to ever actually run for that position.
Like even run?
They even
Yeah.
try to do it? Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty tough when people don't want changes. And so for me, is that the sheriff's office and the DA's office, they have come after me like really hard. And I know a lot of people is going to disagree with what I'm about to say, but you know, I got convicted of trespassing back in 2021. And for one, I should have never even been arrested for that crime in the first place, because
Was it by CSPD?
no, that was why El Paso County.
Oh, it was by the sheriff. Okay.
And so, one, I should have never got arrested for that crime because they didn't have probable cause. And they missed my speedy trial deadline. We calculated totally 3 times. And so by the time I got to trial, it was between 6 to 8 days late. So the court didn't even have jurisdiction over me. The DA's office should have dismissed the charge because once you violate a speedy trial right, the remedy is dismissal. And so I don't know, for me, the remedy for me was go to trial and convict this guy to push him on the sheriff's race. So that's how I look at it. I'm not going to
Right.
hide behind anything
Yeah, I
anymore.
believe you. I believe that's exactly what it was.
So yeah, I want to back up actually.
Yeah.
So like, why did you decide to run for sheriff? And then can you explain a little bit more about like what happened? Like,
All right, so for me, my decision to run for sheriff is, and I've said this from day one, is that I grew up in Jamaica, and we have a constitution and we have law enforcement, but the saying when I was growing up is that it is cheaper to bury you than to house you. And I remember having one traumatic event when I was around 11 years old. I was walking home from school one day. I had this Mickey Mouse watch that I bought when I was in Jersey, and so when I went back to Jamaica, some dude rode up on me with a bicycle, took my watch and cut my wrist, and I was 11. So, and I did report it to law enforcement, but man, they didn't give a shit because who cares about some little kid getting robbed for a $5 watch? And so it stuck with me my whole life, and so I always wanted to make sure that I take care of the people who can't take care of themselves, and I've just gravitated more to law enforcement because I believe I could make an impact in that position.
All right, cool. And then you decided to run for El Paso County, and like kind of walk us through the charges that they're talking about are old, or did this stuff just happen, or?
No, so the charges are they're old charges. This happened back in 2020.
Oh, okay. And all of this stuff is coming up just now in the beginning of this year.
And so no, it's been dragged out since 2020 because it started off with me getting arrested, and then from getting arrested and all these plea bargains started to come in. And so first plea bargain they offered me was to plead guilty to 3rd-degree assault, and I was like, I'm not going to plead guilty to a crime that I didn't commit.
Right.
And so
Imagine that.
we decided we was going to push it out of trial, and then they came back with another plea bargain. They said, well, we want you to plead guilty and we'll give you a deferred sentence, and after you're done with your probation, then we'll just wipe this away. No, it didn't work the first time, right? So I guess, well, we're going to sweeten the deal and we're going to convict them. But I knew what was going on because I knew that with everything with COVID, they had already missed my speedy trial deadline. And so if I had pleaded guilty to a crime that I didn't commit, then I would have gave up all my rights. I would have never been able to come back and appeal. And fortunately for me is that because I own my own business and I have money, I could go pay for an attorney. And I didn't have to take a plea bargain just because I was scared that I didn't want to go to prison. So that didn't deter me because I had money and I know I'm free. So ain't nothing they could do to me while I'm walking around out there. And I'll just draw a contrast real quick. And this is for everybody in the community who can't afford an attorney. That's how they get them with those plea bargains, because when they put you in jail and you're sitting there, can't make bail because of excessive bail, and you want to get out, you'll take anything. And so because I understood and I knew the dynamics of what was going on and I knew that I wasn't in jail, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to stick to my guns. I didn't do it. I'm not going to let law enforcement convince me I did something that I didn't. And that's just the fear factor that they try to play with me that they do with everybody else. But what they didn't know is that they was going to run into somebody that was going to stand up for my rights in the Constitution. And I was going to force them to work to get a conviction on me. So they took me to trial. They withheld exculpatory evidence from me that would have exonerated me at trial.
Seems like
This feels like they've done this before. They're practiced at this.
And so the deputy, the one that arrested me, I had went and filed an internal affairs complaint against this guy, and they did a report, but nothing happened. They sent me a letter saying, well, we substantiated all or part of your claim and the appropriate disciplinary action have been taken. So what we did is we went back in front of a judge.
Wait, so you said that this deputy was like had done something wrong, and they were like, yeah, he did, but
So in my case, they said yes, he did something wrong. He should have separated the witnesses when he was doing his interviews, but he didn't. So they were able to corroborate their story.
okay.
And so sheriff's office said yes, he did it. No big deal. There's no action taken. No, fast forward 3 months later, he arrested a guy, which we'll call him Jane Doe. So he arrested Jane Doe because sheriff's deputy was parked in front of Jane Doe's house one night, and heated conversation came up, and so my arresting deputy went and arrested that guy for second-degree assault on the peace officer with serious bodily injury, all because the guy shined a flashlight allegedly at another deputy.
Cops just use whatever laws they want.
Cops
They
just do whatever they just terrorize
So-
the community.
Yeah, so he violated this guy's right, which they just got sued and had a settlement in federal court, but you would never see that settlement.
They settled?
because- Yeah, they settled.
Yeah. Do you know the amount?
There's an NDA, so nobody will ever know how much it is.
And look at that.
Like,
That's
what? They
amazing.
shouldn't be allowed to do that if it's
So
a
the cop,
public
so the cop
official.
parked in front of the dude's house, and he flashed the light at him like, "What are you doing?" And that was assault.
And then
Yeah.
Boom.
They
Oh,
settle
but actually, the
cover it up.
taxpayers will just pay for it, and we'll let our cops do whatever we want them to. Let
Yeah,
them
so
do.
they settled. We don't know how much it is, but prior to going to trial, the DA's office
can't
had
stand
dismissed the charge against that the guy that had got arrested. This was back in 2020. I went to trial in 2021, a year later. Nobody ever thought to be like, you know what, this is exculpatory evidence. This goes to the credibility of the officers, the deputy. So we need to turn it over to Dent's legal team so he could formulate a good defense. So now they deprived me of my constitutional right to defend myself at trial. We just happened to got that information. I don't know how it came, but I know that information came through the sheriff department and got back to me about that particular incident. And so now we're pushing because the DA knew about it. And as a matter of fact, we have emails going between a person of mine in the DA's office. And the DA said, well, the sheriff's office never sent them over to be put on the Brady list. So your beef is with the sheriff's office, not us.
it seems like that's what they do all the time too. Actually, they
Oh,
just
well,
like
we
point
didn't do it.
fingers back. Go, no, it wasn't us. No, it wasn't us. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
How much time do you have for us to do this? We'll do this for years.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you
Because
let us.
they're getting a salary regardless.
yeah, so it's just one big game, and nobody want to take
Yeah.
responsibility for what's going on. And so I know when I got arrested, Dan May was a DA, but when I went to trial, Michael Allen was a DA, and so this actually falls on Michael Allen because he should have made sure that before this case went to trial, they knew exactly what was going on. Because if you watch the body cam footage where my stepson says, "Oh, I was so scared I went and jumped through the bedroom window." Well, in the body cam footage, where the deputy looked at the window was locked. So that was the first thing right there. And then, at trial, my stepson testified. He said, "Well, I came out of the trunk of the car." Well, on the body cam again, he came out of the front seat of the car, the front passenger door, the driver's side door of the car. And so I'm sitting there watching all these people coming in perjury at trial. including the deputy, because when my attorney started cross-examining the deputy, and he got to a specific part, and he said, "Do you see a dog in the video?" Because that was laying the foundation that I actually had a reason to be there, that I was actually living there. My dog was there. All the deputy had to say, "Yes, I see a dog." He said, "No, I see a shadow."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can't make this up, man. He said, "No, I see a shadow." But mind you, in the body cam footage, you could see my ex bending over, touching the dog, and he bent over at one point. And so it was just,
Well, I mean, regardless, the shadow is cast by something.
By something.
yeah, so
But I don't know. Yeah.
for me, I feel like the trial was fixed against me because when you look at the complaint, that the report that came back from IA, in the report, somebody said that, "Oh, well, we should have charged you with burglary." So not only that they didn't want to take responsibility for screwing up this arrest, they tried to pass it off on me. So when we got to trial, no, what he testified to wasn't the internals affair investigation. So now he's not testifying to his words, he's now testifying to somebody else's words in my trial. So now my trial was, one, it was unconstitutional because you already violated my speed of trial. So 2, it was an illegal trial. 3, my conviction should not stand. As it is right now, it's an illegal conviction, and my sentence is an illegal sentence. The court did not have jurisdiction over me then, and they shouldn't have jurisdiction over me now.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's really interesting because we were just talking about this the other day because, like, you know, so many people are dealing with court cases right now, and so many trials have been dragged out for over a year now. And, you know, they keep asking for speedy trial waivers and stuff like this, which people agree to. And I don't know. I've heard defense attorneys say, no, the longer it lasts, it's better for you. But I feel like pushing, like, not agreeing to waive your speedy trial is a way to, like, force the DA's office to have to, like, get stuff done quickly, because the longer it sits there, the more time they have to, like,
with the stuff that they got right in front of them,
exactly.
instead of like trying
Put
to make it
together an
up
argument.
and
Exactly.
So
Here's what you got and go.
the good thing is there was a case called People versus Sherwood that came out, and that was a speedy trial violation that came out of COVID. So even,
that's what I was curious about, actually, because I know the courts have been saying COVID, like, well, it's COVID, what can we do?
no, well, the Supreme Court says that what they were doing back then was wrong, because from the date of arrest until the date of trial, you get 6 months. And unless you ask for a continuance, then you cannot go over the 6 months. And so when they did my mistrial, they should have reset the trial date within speedy. But the judge reset my speedy trial for another 6 months, and they did it 3 times. So that was making sure that I got convicted on this case. There was no way I was going to get away from it. And Rule 24 is clear. It says, yes, you could declare a mistrial because you can't safely see the jury. But also Rule 24 is clear that you have to try that case within 90 days. And so I just kept on getting 6 months after 6 months after 6 months. And when I showed up in court in January, my attorney's in court, and I knew my speedy trial right was violated. And so I actually motioned the court for a dismissal based on the violation of speedy trial. And so if I didn't file that motion myself, because my attorney refused to do it while I was in court, because he was like, well, Rule 24 have been amendment, they could do this. And I was like, no, they can't do this, even though it's been an amendment. But there are certain elements of Rule 24 that you have to still meet. So good thing I read all the statutes and the criminal rule of evidence and knew what was going on. So I filed a motion, and that's what preserved the record. So now that is the reason why I could go back in front of the appeals court and say, look, when I filed my dismissal in January, the record was preserved. And I just caught them red-handed because they were sitting asking each other, well, what is the speedy trial date? And they're sitting there calculating it. And even after she calculated, she still set it outside of speedy by 8 days. And so I think the whole thing was deliberate to make sure that I couldn't get on the ballot to become sheriff.
Because so If you're convicted of a misdemeanor, even, you can't run for sheriff? Is that like what?
No, it's just a felony. So what they did was they hit him with felony trespassing.
Oh, okay, so you got convicted of a felony for
Yeah.
trespassing?
Yeah.
So now you can't run for sheriff until...
So no, we're still in the race, but we're trying to get the case now to remand it back from the appeals court to the trial court so we could bring up this Brady violation, and hopefully the judge will do the right thing and dismiss it there instead of sending it back to to the appeals court. So it's just a back and forth game that's going to get dragged out until for me to get on the ballot. So unless I get that cleared up, I'll have to withdraw from the race because I'll be disqualified once my background check come back from CBI.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So they cherry picking the races. They doing. That's what it sounds like to me. And it's crazy that. So I mean, before this, when did you announce that you were gonna run for sheriff?
So I announced that I was going to run at Juneteenth. So.
Oh, okay. I remember that. Yeah. All right. So that's when they knew that.
Oh no! People knew that I was going to be that I was running because I was going to all these function with a couple of the county commissioners and other people. So then everybody knew what was going on, man. It was the worst kept secret in Colorado Springs. I was going to run for sheriff.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it too. So yeah, man. So I mean, I'm sure that rang bells, and they were like, "Oh, we can't even let this guy be a part of this," because they cherry pick those people. You know what I'm saying? And like who's gonna run in those races and stuff, and you don't fit the description, bro. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, I mean, I'm not a part of the good old boy system, so I'm definitely not going to fit the description because.
Yes. How do you feel now, though? You like seeing that what they'll do to try to keep you from being a part of it. How do you feel about the whole thing now, and how are you going to attack it from going forward?
Especially the criminal justice. I couldn't help but think well, you're trying to get to be a part of this criminal justice system. The criminal justice system is fucking you. I mean, maybe that's good, but I don't.
So actually, my goal when I just started running the race haven't changed. My goal is to improve the life, improve the living for people in El Paso County. And so even though I'm being persecuted for something that I didn't do, but my goal has always been to fight for the next person that can't fight for themselves. And so I'm not going to give that fight up because I'm going through my own trials and tribulations, because the best experience is lived experience. And so me going into the sheriff's office, I could use my experience and I could train my deputies of what not to do. And then if they're doing the stuff that they're not supposed to do, I have no problems firing anybody because I do it in my personal business every day. And so when you look at a deputy with 4, 5, 6 letter reprimand, why is he still in the sheriff's office? Like, when you look at all the negative counseling, I get it's tough to recruit people, but you can't sacrifice other people's constitutional rights just because you have shitty leadership and nobody wants to work for you. And so,
yeah, I agree.
And so what I'm bringing to the sheriff's office is a change of culture. I'm bringing integrity because I lived in the streets. I know what it is to be out there. And I know what it is to grow up in a house where you can't afford food or you can't afford clothes. Because I grew up in Jamaica, there's times I went to bed without eating. There's times I had to borrow shoes and I had to borrow clothes just to get to school. And so from my background, I understand the human side of everything that's going on. I didn't just grow up in a law enforcement family where all I know is law enforcement. So I'm pulling my experience from things that happen to me, things that happen to people around me, things that happen to people in the community. And so that is how I intend to make decisions. I'm not going to just quit because of what's going on with me. Because the beauty about my case, if that my case get overturned as an appeal and then it get published, then some of these same people right now that's in the system, their case is being delayed for a year, their attorney could go back and look at People versus Dent and see why my case was overturned. And they could go back and use that. You know what? You violated my client's right, whether he did it or not. This is the Constitution, and you got to go by it. So People versus Dent, and they got to overturn those cases. So I'm setting a huge precedence here in the state of Colorado, just because they made one miscalculation of arresting the wrong black person.
Yeah, indeed, man. Well, I'm with it, man. I appreciate that. And you watched our show, man, and we don't fuck with police at all, man. And I feel like when I heard what was going on to you and what happened and how they're going about it, it just shows, it's indicative, and it shows like how the lack of character in these organizations, you know what I mean? And the extent that they'll go to protect their circle. Because, John and I, we obviously are a huge opponent of law enforcement as a whole, just the thought, just the idea of law enforcement. But we also, capitalism as well. We're like a huge opponent of those things. But we also
got to live within it.
Right. We know that we have to live with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when I see people that aren't acting like and coming from what these folks are coming from and trying to get into that world, and you could just see how they're just looking at you like they're just, got their nose turned, and it pisses me off, you know what I'm saying, that they're doing that shit. So I'm glad that one, that you really do understand what you're going through and what they're putting you through, and then like you can navigate your way through it, you know what I'm saying? Because even if you don't get on that ballot, all of this stuff that you just said right here, they prevented you from getting on the ballot. It wasn't like...
Yeah, they interfere with the election.
That's what I'm saying. They interview. That's the best way. They interfered with the election process in El Paso County. So
I've never even heard of a felony trespass is the thing.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, wait, it gets better. So let me switch gears to something else. So in December, I wasn't at home, right? My son let my dogs out into the backyard. The dogs started fighting amongst themselves. I had a neighbor call animal control. She was on the phone. She said, I'm going over there and I'm going to go take that dog. So she went into my backyard, took my dog, and gave my dog to animal control. And guess what? I got charged with animal cruelty. I was leaving at home when the dogs were fighting. So it's like, they're sending like every single agency in El Paso County to come out.
Oh, this happened after that?
Yeah, this happened in December.
Oh my God, man.
So what they did is they came back and they charged me with animal cruelty, which now I got a revocation hearing coming up because I'm on probation. So, but the sheriff's office did their investigation. They sent the charge, recommended that the DA's office charge my neighbor. I don't know what charge they recommend. So now, City of Colorado Springs, County of El Paso, I'm waiting for Michael Allen to decide if he's going to charge my neighbors with trespassing or not.
Oh, because they actually came into your yard?
They actually went into my backyard, took my dog. So I'm asking the question, are there two types of justice in El Paso County? Is there a justice for Dent, which is no justice, and there's a black justice and a white justice? Because, they came out and arrested me at a place where I was living with somebody that I was in a relationship with, and then the total stranger could go on my property and take my dog, and all there is just sitting up there in Michael Allen's office. I don't know what is he waiting for.
Yeah, well, that seems like cut and dry to me.
Yeah.
I'm
they do have 39,000 cases.
I'll tell you what he's waiting on. There's 39,000 cases and 89 attorneys, as far as what he said. and they're up there now, dropping like flies, boy. Them attorneys is up there dropping like flies because of the practices, the police practices in this city are jacked the fuck up. And they're having to deal with it, you know what I'm saying? Well, and it feels like to me, they're like, yeah, come on, let's see which ones we could get. Let's see which ones we could get, you know what I'm saying? And then the rest of them, things like this, you push that down the road a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Man, so, I think they have like a big board in the DA's office labeled Dent on it. So
yeah. And now you want Just Cause too? They're gonna be like, what the fuck? This fucking guy. Like,
well,
they
it's
really don't like
you. That's what they do. I mean, that's not like they don't know you.
Right.
Like, they know who I am.
They know exactly who they've identified who they think are troublemakers or people who aren't, that disagree with them, and that they fuck with them. They don't even need to bring the charge yet because, they know that they can just sit there with the probation violation, They don't want to mess with that because they want you to be in trouble for your probation violation. They don't want.
But
to
I'm
have
just,
something
I'm just,
make
I'm
that
just
more complicated.
But I'm
Right,
just putting
right.
it out there so people know what's going on, because you can't charge me with the crime and then you're gonna let the next person get away. Why? Is because I'm running for office and you don't want me to get in there? Because that's how I see it now.
Right.
If it was anything else, I mean, I would have wouldn't have let it go. But when you're starting to come after me, like sending me letters saying, "Oh, well, your weeds are too tall," and when I take a picture and send it back to the city planner, they're like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, I got the wrong house. We're supposed to send it to the house next door."
That has to do with the animal cruelty stuff.
No, this was something else.
Oh my goodness, man.
So it's
they
it's,
on you, bro.
it's just like one thing after another, and
Yeah,
all I do
yeah.
is I go to work, I run a business, I go campaign, and I go home.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so
and they trying to put the screws on you.
yeah, so I'm like, man, I wish I had time to go there and commit crimes but one thing I do know in this county though is that they're going to go after soft target. They're going to go after people like me and you who are not out there robbing banks, because they don't want to go in front of the bad guy that's actually going to fight back. They want to go bust these people that are working class people like me and you that get up and go to work every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy for you to go after a guy that you think that, well, he's not going to fight this case. He's not going to make sure that I have to go prove everything beyond a reasonable doubt. He's going to take a plea bargain because he wants to keep his
Get back
job.
to work,
exactly,
or yeah.
exactly, because you've got a life, and you don't. Yeah.
Right.
It makes me think of when Dan May didn't pursue that skinhead gang
Oh yeah.
that assassinated. Did they
The
assassinate two
cop,
people?
The guy from the
correction
jail.
officer.
From the correction, yeah. But Dan May was too fucking scared to go after that
Didn't
because
even-
he was
didn't
worried
even-
he was going to get killed.
Right.
Yeah, Texas took care of it though. So.
Yeah, them dudes, man. So I tell you, man, I think that I'm glad that people have a way to look and see what's going on. And so, what's happening now? Like, where are you at now with this thing? Or is it?
So where we at now is just we're just waiting for things to get to the trial court.
Okay.
The appeals court. But we have a lot of issues that's going to come up now, even with the transcript, because we just read the transcript and saw a major piece of the deputy's testimony that was omitted from the transcript.
Imagine that.
So,
Well, they do this, man. It's like cookie cutter stuff right here, man.
but that piece that was omitted from the transcript though is very important to my appeal, because that's what showed that he committed perjury at trial. And that whole thing is missing. Like, why is there everything else there in this transcript except where this deputy colored his testimony?
Yeah.
And so, I guess they didn't think I was going to catch on to what's going on. But
Yeah.
I'm on it, man. I'm watching everything that's going on.
That's
Well,
good.
they're
man.
especially worried about that shit now because now cops can get fired and put on the blacklist and not get hired anywhere else when they lie in an official capacity. Which
Well, it's supposed to be like that, but as with my case with Deputy Mayor, we knew that he didn't get put on the Brady list, so they're not even really interested in making sure that these bad deputies and these bad officers
exactly.
get out of law enforcement, and that's what's tearing the sheriff's office apart, and that's what's tearing Colorado Springs PD apart. And it's sad because it's poor leadership at top. And the guys that want to do the right thing, guys like me, we're the one that's getting, the hammer thrown down on us because we want to do the right thing, because we understand what our community is all about. And for me is I live here in Southeast Colorado Springs. I used to live on Circle, and there was a shooting almost every night down there by Circle and Fountain. And so I know what it is to live in the Southeast, and I drive through different parts of El Paso County, and I just see how put together everything are. And then we over here, it's like we got schools that they're not taking care of schools. We got Mitchell High School where everybody's getting fired. We got Sierra High School where all the schools in the district at one point they had the worst football field, and so not getting the appropriate funding. And for me, even though I'm running for the office of the sheriffs, and those are you know, things that our House district representatives should be taking care of. But I just can't turn a blind eye to what's going on, because at the end of the day, I would still be an elected official, and it would still be my responsibility to speak up for, again, the people who can't speak for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man, if there was a sheriff that was actually talking about environmental concern and stuff like that, that would be pretty awesome.
Instead of the under deputy was up there like
it's their fault.
At that law enforcement panel. Well, you were there.
Yeah.
Just basically blaming poor morals on why we're having rising crime, which
Right.
like,
We need more
okay, well
Jesus.
then, so yeah, exactly. What does that mean? Like, why are you elected officials if you think people just have bad morals,
we
and
need
that's
more,
why?
we need more preachers. Instead
Yeah,
of more
exactly.
elected officials.
Exactly.
But you know, the funny thing is, because we actually look at all the statistics in the sheriff's office, and for a while, like, crime was actually going down and not going up.
Crime has been going down for the last
And,
Decade, 20
25 years or
yeah.
so. Yeah.
and so I heard what Joe said, and so, I mean, I can't opine in his opinion.
Is that the
But
under deputy
He's
or the under sheriff? I
Yeah.
mean,
Sheriff, yeah.
But I mean, my campaign, we look at the numbers, and I got a numbers guru sitting over there. So this man right here, he looks at this thing every single day, and we could rebuttal anything that they come out there and say. I could call them a bold-faced liar because they see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no way a sheriff's office with a budget of over $90 million should be performing so poorly.
Yeah, well, I got to ask you, what specific things would you imagine that you want to change with the sheriff's department? I mean, even if you're even able to get
Yeah, even on the
that
ballot, like
far,
they don't
but
even
like,
want you to run.
because there's things like the sheriff's department has a armored vehicle too, just like CSPD. Teller County Sheriff's Department has one of those armored vehicles. How many armored vehicles do we need in the Pikes Peak region?
I guess one for each agency.
But why? Exactly.
go to war.
And yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm reloading.
Thousands and thousands of rifles. Like, I know we get a lot of those for free from the federal government.
So
But what specific things do you see as like a problem within the sheriff's department?
So, I could talk about from the standpoint of the armored vehicle, because I've been in the military and I've been here for a period of time. But the armored vehicle situation really changed when they had the Planned Parenthood shooting, when that guy killed that officer, and so that's when a lot of things in law enforcement really started changing, and they thought they needed more guns, more armored vehicle. But the things that we're talking about changing is that we're talking about changing the culture. We're talking about transparency, and we're willing, like I said earlier, we're willing to get rid of those deputies that aren't supposed to be there. And one of the things that we've talked about as far as internal affairs is that maybe we shouldn't have deputies investigating deputies. Maybe we should put together a civilian internal affairs, send those guys through an investigator training, and have them do the training, so we could keep the integrity of an investigation. So I don't have to worry about lining a report to cover a guy that I've worked with for the last 10 years. And so,
Right, yeah, exactly, because that's what happens within these police departments. Is when everybody says like, oh, it's just bad apples, but like, bad apples spoil the whole bunch, right?
Right.
That's
Good
the whole
apples-
like
good apples are
continue with the
bad.
metaphor is like. They're all sitting in there in that bushel. This is going to get too complicated if I
Yeah,
continue
yeah.
with the metaphor, but that's what happens.
But, yeah,
supposedly
because-
good cops are always like defending these supposedly bad cops, and so what happens is the whole
and that's the
police
problem.
department.
And thus, where you get ACAB.
And
Exactly.
so those are some of the things that I'm looking at, because again, this is about law enforcement agency that works for the people. The people don't work for law enforcement. And I've lived in a country where government violated the rights of the people. But in this
You're talking about
country,
the U.S.
Yeah.
but I'm gonna get to that. So I live in Jamaica where the government violated the rights of the people, and the people fear the government violating their rights. But in this country, it should be the other way around. The government should fear violating the rights of the people. Mm-hmm. And so when we give up our constitutional rights because, oh well, man, I don't want to sit here because my case is getting rescheduled, so let me just give up all my rights and go take a plea bargain. Those are the things that we got to get away from, because it's 98% of our conviction in this state comes through a plea bargain.
Yeah.
and 2% go to trial, and only the 2% that go to trial and 1% get convicted. And so, but we got to start pulling back from all these plea bargains. Like, people need to do their work. If you don't have probable cause to arrest somebody, then don't make the arrest. And so that's our stance that we're taking. And I'm for the Constitution, and I live by the Constitution, and I'm going to lead by the Constitution. And I'm going to lead my sheriff's office based on what people are saying in the community, because we got to listen and we got to make those changes. We can't continue to operate under like we're operating under King Alfred. Like, this is not the year 871 where we had noblemen where people were going out and pillaging the village and taking the money from the taxpayer. There was a constitution that was ratified after that, and there was a Magna Charta. And so we need to start paying attention and stop giving our rights away. It don't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Those rights are very, very important, and the minute you start giving those up, then that's the minute that this country's gonna fall.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man, I agree with that shit, bro. And I think that it's good. I'm glad that you're doing it. I think that they knew what they was doing by keeping you off that ballot, or trying to keep you off the ballot, because ain't no telling what
we was
happened.
gonna find, what we were gonna find.
Yeah, like, because I feel like, you know, another thing that they count on is our community not voting, and anything that can invigorate this voting base away from them, they want to stop that before it can happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so
they actively try to do that.
And so, and it's just one thing I want to say while I'm on this podcast, because I mean, I met you guys. I know you, Sean. I know D, and I know Will.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my relationship to the people in the community doesn't only lie with Democrats or Republican. It's with everybody. Because I've met, you know, I go out and I talk to everybody in the community, and I listen to what everybody is saying. And so, for me, it's not just pick a side. Like, you know, I consider myself a statesman, because I'm going to do what's in the best interest of the people, not what's in the best interest of my campaign. And so when I go out there and I put that shirt on representing Juneteenth, you know, I represent everybody in the community, and I know how much work y'all put into Juneteenth last year, and I was proud to be a part of that organization, regardless of what people want to think. And just cause, like, I have no beef coming on y'all show. I'm not a cop, so I think I get a free pass.
You're interim.
Yeah, you're interviewing to become a cop, though. Nah, but it's cool.
No,
though,
I gotta say though, because I've wondered about this for a long time. You know, there's this in Teller County, when Teller County was formed, the sheriff was elected by, like, so the history of Teller County is it used to be like all working class miners, union folks, and basically the unions got the sheriff elected, and he was like friendly to the people. He was like, so I'm like, well, in that case, maybe that's okay. That, like, if you actually control that. And he refused to arrest miners who were like picketing, and of course then the state sent in their militia.
Right.
But, you know, I got to ask you though, because the first time I met you, you were wearing like a Trump shirt or a Trump hat. And I'm like, I'm not super partisan myself. I mean, I don't generally vote for Republicans. Yeah. But like, and look, I
got a whole bunch of Trump gears, so we could jump right into that.
Like, the things you're saying, like, Trump's entire campaign was like all about, like, cops should basically be able to do what they want, and then we should be able to act above the Constitution. So like, what? I just can't help get. I'm seeing a disconnect here.
Yeah. So we could actually clear it up, right? And so I'm from New York. I grew up in New York when I left Jamaica, and so I used to service the ATMs in Trump Casino in Manhattan and Atlantic City. And so the reason for my Trump gears is because I met him personally. And when he was president, business-wise and tax-wise, that works good for me, because I'm a businessman, and I do believe that we have to fix the system in this country as far as it comes to tax. You can't have just like a little portion of people trying to maintain the whole country. And so, but my wearing Trump gear and representing Trump, and we actually went out to Mount Rushmore to go work on it with the Secret Service to go provide protection for him. And so that's where my Trump stuff comes from. But as far as me it's my education and my upbringing and my background, and going to church and understanding that there are people out there that really needs help, and not because I support Trump. That doesn't mean I have to take the same stance as he does, because I know what right is and I know what wrong is, and I know what the Constitution says, and I know what the Federalist Papers says because I read those. And so, again, I choose to govern based on the Constitution because that's the law of the land, and that's what says what government is supposed to be. That's why there are 3 different branches of government that should be checks and balances, but however, it is not that way. And so, but yeah, I know that Trump thing was gonna come because everybody see it. As a matter of fact, when I was leaving today, I had a Trump shirt on there, took it off.
Oh, I really wish you would have worn it.
Oh man, yeah.
I was like, I am not gonna walk into this one. So
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, that just seems like there's a disconnect there. Like, whatever. I understand why people can get into Trump because he's like, whatever. He says stuff that people get a kick out of, But he's like, the things you're saying, I'm like, but Trump was all about extra constitutional authority. He hated the Constitution.
He wants to like rewrite it himself.
Yeah, but the Constitution talk about the limited role that government should have, and that's why we have the 9th Amendment, the 10th Amendment, and the 6th Amendment actually that govern what states and government actors are able to do, and that's why we have the 14th Amendment that protects our right to due process, and so for me, I have to go by that document. And one of the things that a lot of people in law enforcement don't understand is that the Constitution actually trumps state statute. And a lot of people don't know that because actually some state statutes are actually not in line with what the Constitution says that is supposed to be going on. And some state statutes and a matter of fact, where they take away discretion from officers, where an officer can't make a discretion if he wants to arrest somebody or not. Like, that is like opposite of what the Constitution is talking about, because the Constitution is talking about freedom and it's talking about being able to make decisions. But when we have people up in Denver, both Republicans and Democrat, and they push forward these bills make our life harder. And so one of the things I talk about in my website is changing the dynamics of crime through education. And what I mean by that is there was over 200 and something bills that went into law this year. And how many people know anything about any of those bills that went into law? And so the best kept secret, if you don't know what the statute says, the mass arrest is going to continue happening. And if you don't know what your constitutional rights is, the mass violation of rights is going to continue to happen. And so we need to figure out how we're going to start educating people on what Colorado revised statute is, because, for instance, like my neighbors came in my backyard and stole my dog. Probably don't know that what they did was a crime, but either way, I still want to see them charged because we want to see what Michael Allen's going to do. But
Yeah, me too.
Did you file anything? I mean, did you file?
Oh no, we did. I filed an
Okay,
internal
yeah,
affairs complaint. The case got investigated, got sent to the DA's office, and it's been sitting there. So
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm like, if more cops actually took the Constitution seriously and more police departments, that would be great. 4th Amendment, 1st Amendment, like, I mean, even in Colorado, people were arrested basically because they had guns at a protest. That's legal. That's completely legal, especially in Colorado. You can open carry in Colorado.
Right.
Hey, you know what I find conflicting as far as how they approach the Constitution throughout the whole country is that if in Colorado, if you could open carry, why do you need to get a permit to conceal carry?
Yeah, I mean,
That is true, because I mean, like, it's just a matter of putting your shirt over it, right? Like,
yeah, I've often wondered about that. Like, at what point is
Like,
it considered concealed or whatever?
Prison,
yeah,
one
yeah,
thing
yeah,
isn't.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
That's all there is to
No,
it.
what it is it's money, man. Somebody got to get the $150 to give you that permit. So, and it's just like, if I want to go fishing, why do I need to pay to get a fishing license when this is all a natural resource that's provided by God? So it's just it's just a lot of weird stuff that's out there, man. Like,
yeah, that is true. I think there's a state that took away the need for a concealed carry license recently. I can't
Probably
remember.
Texas.
But it was probably Texas. Yeah, like oh yeah, like you just carry as many guns as you. I think it might have been, man.
I mean, where else would it be?
Yeah.
Like Texas or Montana?
Yeah, but you can't just have like two different standards for the same thing. It's either you're going to have to get a license to open carry, or what. But
Yeah.
they should get away with the whole having to get a license to conceal carry.
Yeah, that's a good thought. And you know, as you were talking, man, because you know me, man, I'm like, man, I don't fuck with police at all. I can't even like have a conversation about it. But here's the thing, though, like I feel like what John just said, like, somebody has to be in the room. Like, you know, when we talk about black people being in boardrooms and gay people being in, you know, in rooms where the executives are making decisions, like all of these things have to happen, and somebody got to do that, you know. And if nobody's doing that, then they're gonna continue to like do what they're doing. So I guess I could tell you I appreciate the effort to like put the mirror back in their face and say, no, I belong on that ballot as well. You know what I'm saying? And I guess I hope that you get on there because I'm not gonna. I don't know. I hope the rest of them just die. All the rest of them just disappear.
So to be a county commissioner, do you have to? Can you like? I don't know what the deal is. Can you have a felony conviction to be a county commissioner or city councilor?
I could be a county commissioner. I could be a city council. I could be a state rep. I could work any job in politics. But here's the issue with the sheriff's position. You have to be able to get post certified, and you have to be able to carry a weapon. And so, with a felony conviction, I can't carry a weapon, and so that's the disqualification right there.
It's crazy.
I mean, I'm just wondering. I'm all you know.
You
were talking about like the issues such as like hunger and education, like. Well, the sheriff's department can't do much to affect those. I mean, it's the back end of those things, I feel like, not the front end of those things. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, the sheriff have one of the most powerful position in this county. You think if the sheriff go over to the county commissioner and voice something that's a real concern to the community, that they're not going to listen?
Right. No, I agree with that. I just feel like it's more like he's like usually having to clean up the messes that inequality does create. You know what I'm saying? But I agree. He's a respected position for sure.
Yeah, but being like having that progressed like that thought, like as a sheriff, I'm worried about that.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's what they should be
be
thinking about, and fuck all the rest of it, man. But
my conviction was a loophole for the sheriff department to get me out of the race.
Yeah, to get you off of the
ballot.
Off of the ballot. So what I'm hearing, you got a lot of this like small town feel, like small town way of doing it can be handled in the city. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if you're wrong about that. It might be able to, because you know, it feels the sheriff in Green Mountain Valley would talk about the people and these things that you're saying, but the sheriff in Denver County and you know El Paso and whatever, they're not thinking about that shit. You know what I'm saying? So. I feel like that alone could shake up things and like, you know, really kind of get things together, man, if that was possible. So what's the odds of you getting on the ballot?
Put him on the spot.
Ask that guy over there. as it stands right now, it is pretty tough, but here's what I'm doing. If I can't get on the ballot, I'm still going to push my agenda, because what I'm saying, the people like what I'm saying, because I get those emails, and I go to these forums and I get these feedback, and they're saying, you know what, those will actually work. And especially one of the things that we talk about in my campaign is that we highlighted the importance of the sheriff being the fire warden for the county. And what it is the sheriff is in charge of fighting fires in the unincorporated areas of El Paso County. And so if there's a wildland fire outside of the city, outside of any of the cities, it's the job of the sheriff office to make sure that wildland fire gets taken care of, prairie fire get taken care of, urban interface fire. That now we got the East has gotten so big. There's so many housing developments out there. So now we got to worry about urban interface fires. And so the officer of the sheriff, he's responsible to make sure that he has a fire crew that's going to be able to fight those fires. He's responsible for evacuating people in a timely and safely manner. And so we pay attention to the jail and we pay attention to everything else. But if you look at what happened to or 3 previous fires, how many houses were lost, that was a lot of infrastructures. Took a lot of money to rebuild those houses. If you look at the Marshall fire, like 1,000 houses gone. And so the sheriff, like, he has just so much responsibility that you got to be focused on what's going on. You got to know what's going on in your area of responsibility, because I know that if there should be another fire up there in the Garden of the Gods area, and you have to come down in Garden of the God roads, and there's an accident on I-25 while you're evacuating, you're not going anywhere. No, your evacuation just stopped. And that fire is roaring down. Imagine how many lives are going to be lost. And so, for me, I look at the full job responsibilities of the sheriff, and that's how I'm running my campaign on everything that the sheriff is supposed to be doing, not just running the jails and not just policing. So his job goes a lot further beyond that what anybody in this county could even comprehend.
Yeah. It sounds like you got you're onto something, man, and people need to. I would like to learn it. You know what I'm saying? Because it feels like that is so much stuff that people don't even know or understand and can't hold them accountable. You know what I'm saying? So that education piece is big, man. So once they ice you out, man, make sure you come back to the people, man, because that's where the power's at.
You know, I'm working you got to get Juneteenth ready for this year too.
For
so.
Sure. For sure.
And like I said, I'm proud to be a part of Juneteenth, and I was excited when that actually became a recognized holiday here in Colorado Springs, because I watched I came in, even though I came in late, but I watched everything that you guys were doing with these meetings with the mayor's office, and so it's just a lot of things that's going on over here in K-Land where people don't even know what that's really going on. They might decide where you guys go protest. And I like that everybody protests, because actually the Constitution says that you have the right to petition your government. So if you're not petitioning your government and you're not keeping them in check, then
exactly that's exactly what they want.
Does the Constitution say you have the right to petition for redress of grievances, but only on the sidewalk during certain times and certain hours and certain blah 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 blah?
Nope. Only the CSPD says that.
But see, those are the things that we're looking at as sheriff. Is that my job as a sheriff? If the IRS come in here and start harassing people, which I'm not sure why we have an IRS, because you can't just like start auditing people without a reason, without due process or probable cause that somebody did commit a crime. And so we look at the FBI comes in and do whatever the hell they want to, serve warrants, arrest people, snatch them up without warrant. That's the job of the sheriff to go to the FBI and say, look, that's actually, and if I'm sheriff of the county, I'm putting in something in place where the FBI needs to be communicating with my sheriff's office before they start busting on the people and
they'll just contact CSPD then.
Yeah,
they'll just bypass sheriff's department and go to CSPD.
Yeah, man. All right, well, I think we're running kind of long here, man. So I just want to thank you, for reaching out and wanting to get on here and let the folks know what's going on. And I appreciate you like having the balls to fight them, man. And I feel like if there were ever a chance that I would be a cop, I would be acting just like you. It's at worst, though. It's at worst. I'd be like saying so much shit. But yeah, man. So I appreciate it, and I hope it works out for you. But and if it doesn't, I hope that you bring it back and teach people stuff, because you being the subject matter expert on this stuff doesn't do the community good. Like all of us knowing that stuff will do the community good, man. So it'd be great if we was able to pass that knowledge on to folks.
Well, man, I got your number. I know how to get a hold of you, and like I said, you know, we'd be on those Juneteenth calls whenever
Okay.
D remember me. So
Yeah. Nah, you remember me.
And just keep pushing, because I'm like, yeah, they're just gonna harass the shit out of you. That's
Yeah,
what they
don't
do. That's
stop.
just what they do.
I mean, I'm already getting harassed. Don't get no worse than that. So,
For sure.
but I
All right.
appreciate y'all having me coming on, man. And it's man, it's always a blessing being around good people in the community that's fighting the same fight as me.
Word up. Word
All
up,
right.
man. All right, y'all, we
Cool.
good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
thanks.
man.
Peace
All
out,
power,
everybody.
y'all. Appreciate it.